They say you can't destroy what's meant to survive. In tonight's Making a Difference report, a World War II Purple Heart defies a Missouri metal shredder and finds its way home to a grateful family in Wentzville. At Scrap Mart Metals in Jonesburg, Missouri, they turn metal into memories. But one memory just wouldn't melt. Every month, 14,000 tons of twisted steel pass through here. Cars, copper, and cast-offs are ground up, sorted, and forgotten.
When you shred a car will come out in tiny little pieces in 90 seconds.
But on one recent day, a glint of gold and purple caught the eye of picker Patrick Bloom.
The purple stood out the most. It stood out like a sore thumb.
What Patrick pulled from that conveyor belt was a World War II Purple Heart, completely intact, which defied all logic.
We get coins through this thing because, cars have coins in them, right. and they're unrecognizable. I mean, quarters are bent in half, and this thing's completely whole. The ribbon's still on.
There was a name etched on the back, just enough for Lucas and his staff to launch a mission. They turned detective, building family trees on Ancestry.com until they found Katie Kriedemeyer.
He told me that it had gone through the scrapper and that it had survived when things like coins and other things hadn't survived.
This is class of 1944.
The Purple Heart belonged to Charles Joseph Hall, who was a cousin and grew up in the same house as Katie's grandmother.
He had brown eyes.
Katie's dad was named for Charles Joseph.
He enlisted right out of high school and wanted to be a paratrooper, but they moved him to infantry, and then went to Europe and was killed 6 months later.
The family knew about the medal, but couldn't find it until now.
My mom lived in Warren County, and she had a car in her driveway that was no longer drivable, so she sold it to a guy down in the little town she lived by at the garage for spare parts and scrap.
And the Purple Heart must have been in the car.
And the dedication of those in the industry who handle them.
To honor the journey, Scrap Mart didn't just hand it over. They flew the family to San Diego to their national convention to return a nation's gratitude.
We were like celebrities there. It was like people coming up to us and wanting to meet us and take pictures of the medal and take pictures of us with the medal. And for them to make this big deal out of it, it was really cool.
The medal now sits safely in the family's hands. Decades late, but somehow right on time.
We wouldn't have this if it hadn't been for the kindness of complete strangers.
In a scrapyard full of shattered parts, one small medal held on, not just through steel, but through time, waiting to finally come home.
I think it was definitely meant to be, that's for sure.
Charles Joseph Hall is buried in an American military cemetery in Belgium, where a woman named Claudia has been caring for his grave through an Adopt a Grave program for the past 5 years. And a reminder, if you know someone making a difference for others, let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com.